Dr. Anthony Fauci became the face of America's COVID-19 response as director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. For decades, he was a respected figure in the world of infectious diseases, quietly shaping public health policy behind the scenes. But when the pandemic struck, Fauci was thrust into the national spotlight, suddenly responsible for communicating life-or-death information to millions of anxious Americans. He was the top medical advisor to both President Trump and President Biden, guiding the country through an unprecedented public health crisis. His presence at daily briefings became a symbol of hope and, for some, a source of reassurance that science was leading the way. Fauci's calm demeanor and direct answers made him a trusted voice in a time of chaos. Millions trusted his advice on staying safe and following the science. His recommendations shaped how people lived, worked, and interacted with each other. From social distancing to mask mandates, Fauci's words influenced the daily routines of families across the nation. But as the pandemic dragged on, public trust wavered. Confusion and frustration grew as the crisis stretched from weeks into months, then years. The country became divided, not just over the virus, but over the guidance itself. Guidance shifted. First, masks weren't needed, then they were required. These changes, though based on evolving science, left many Americans feeling uncertain and skeptical. The shifting recommendations became a flashpoint in the national debate. Vaccines were promised to end the pandemic, yet breakthrough cases emerged. The hope for a quick return to normal faded as new variants appeared and questions about vaccine effectiveness surfaced. People wondered if the science was keeping up with the virus. School closures, once seen as necessary, were later criticized for harming children. Parents struggled to balance work and remote learning, while students faced isolation and setbacks. The long-term impact on education and mental health became a growing concern. These reversals sparked questions. Was Fauci following the science, or was something else at play? Critics accused him of inconsistency, while supporters argued he was adapting to new information. The debate over his motives became as heated as the debate over the virus itself. The scrutiny goes deeper than public health advice. Congressional hearings and media investigations probed every decision, searching for answers about transparency, accountability, and the true origins of the pandemic. Fauci's agency funded coronavirus research, some of it at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, the city where COVID-19 began. This funding, while intended to prevent future pandemics, became a lightning rod for controversy and suspicion. This connection raised suspicions about what Fauci knew and when. Was there a cover-up, or was it simply the complexity of global science at work? The public demanded answers, and the media kept digging. He publicly dismissed the lab leak theory, but critics wondered if he was protecting his agency. The debate over the virus's origins became a battleground for trust in science and government. Dr. Fauci's influence shaped every American's life: jobs, education, even basic freedoms. The policies he helped craft affected the economy, mental health, and the very fabric of society. The debate isn't just political, it's about whether pandemic decisions were based on unbiased science or hidden agendas. As the dust settles, Americans are left to grapple with the legacy of those choices and the man who stood at the center of it all. That's why his story still matters, because understanding Dr. Fauci's role means understanding how America responded to one of the greatest challenges in its history, and what we can learn for the future. On June 6, 2025, the story took a dramatic turn that no one saw coming. The headlines that morning hinted at something big, but few could have predicted just how significant the day would become in the ongoing investigation into the origins of the pandemic. FBI Director Kash Patel made a rare public appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, one of the world's most influential podcasts. During the interview, Patel dropped a bombshell. The FBI had officially seized Dr. Anthony Fauci's personal cell phone and hard drives, devices dating back to the earliest, most chaotic days of the pandemic. These weren't just any devices. They potentially held the key to understanding the decisions and communications that shaped the global response. This wasn't a leak or a rumor. It was a direct official announcement made in front of millions of listeners and viewers. The gravity of the moment was unmistakable. For years, lawmakers, journalists, and independent investigators had been demanding access to these records. They believed that somewhere in those files might be the answers to questions that had haunted the public since the pandemic began, questions about what was known, when, and by whom. Now, after years of speculation and frustration, the FBI finally had them in their possession. The devices were being carefully logged and secured as evidence, signaling a new level of seriousness in the investigation. Patel described the moment as a true breakthrough, comparing it to the discovery of a plane's black box after a mysterious crash. He suggested that these devices could reveal the hidden story behind the public narrative, offering a rare glimpse into the decision-making process at the highest levels. The news sent immediate shockwaves through the media and political worlds. Newsrooms scrambled to verify details, while politicians on both sides of the aisle issued urgent statements and called for transparency. For those who had long suspected a cover-up or hidden agenda, this was a moment of vindication. It fueled public debate and reignited protests, as people demanded to know what secrets might finally come to light. Patel was careful to emphasize that the investigation was both serious and ongoing. He made it clear that while this was a major step forward, not all details could be shared yet. The process would be thorough, and the stakes were higher than ever. The fact that Dr. Fauci's personal devices were now in federal hands marked the beginning of a new, more intense phase in the search for answers. The world was watching, waiting to see what truths might finally be uncovered. Why does the FBI care about Fauci's old phone and hard drives? Director Patel says it's about answers. The investigation focuses on the origins of COVID-19. Was it a natural spillover or a lab leak? They're also examining how pandemic policies, lockdowns, mask mandates, school closures were decided. Were these choices based on science or influenced by politics? Investigators want to see if Fauci's private communications matched his public statements, especially regarding the lab leak theory. The goal is accountability. The FBI wants a complete, accurate history of the pandemic's early days. The contents of Fauci's devices could confirm suspicions or clear his name. Either way, the truth matters. The FBI's seizure of Fauci's devices is big news, but Director Patel urged caution. Finding the devices is just the start. Analyzing them will take time. There's no guarantee of a smoking gun. Key data could be deleted or missing. Digital forensics can recover a lot, but not everything. Context is crucial. A single message out of context can mislead. Investigators must piece together the full story, not just cherry-pick evidence. Patel's message: let the process play out. Rushing to judgment risks spreading misinformation. The goal is truth, not confirming biases. Patience and integrity are essential for a fair investigation. Patel didn't specify how the FBI obtained Fauci's devices: warrant, voluntary handover, or another method. This lack of detail has fueled speculation. If a warrant was used, it would signal serious legal grounds, but no public record exists. Complicating matters, President Biden issued Fauci a preemptive pardon in January 2025, shielding him from federal prosecution for actions during his government service. Still, investigations can continue for broader accountability or to examine others' roles. The method of seizure matters for public trust. Without transparency, questions about government power and political motives will persist. At the heart of the ongoing investigation is the lab leak theory, a controversial idea that refuses to fade away. Once dismissed by many as a fringe conspiracy, the theory has steadily gained traction, now being taken seriously by top intelligence agencies and government officials around the world. The question of whether COVID-19 could have accidentally escaped from a laboratory rather than emerging naturally has become a central focus in the search for the pandemic's true origins. This debate has sparked fierce arguments, political battles, and a global demand for transparency. Dr. Anthony Fauci, one of the most prominent public health officials during the pandemic, publicly called the lab leak theory extremely unlikely. But behind the scenes, private emails reveal a different story. Fauci was informed early on by scientists that the virus might have been engineered, raising serious questions about what he knew and when. Instead of disclosing these concerns to the public, Fauci continued to promote the natural origin theory. He played a key role in shaping scientific papers and public messaging that supported the idea of a natural spillover from animals, influencing both the media narrative and the scientific community's response. Now, years later, both the FBI and CIA have publicly stated that a lab-related incident is not only possible, but likely, based on their own intelligence assessments. This marks a dramatic shift in the official stance and has reignited calls for accountability. Adding to the controversy, it's been revealed that Fauci's agency, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, funded research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology through the non-profit EcoHealth Alliance. This research was paid for with U.S. taxpayer money, raising concerns about oversight and responsibility. According to government watchdogs and auditors, oversight of these grants was lacking. Critical safety protocols and reporting requirements were not always enforced, leaving gaps that may have contributed to the current crisis. If the virus did leak from that lab, it would mean a U.S. government agency indirectly funded the very research that may have sparked a global pandemic, a staggering conflict of interest with far-reaching implications for science, policy, and public trust. Now, congressional investigations are underway, seeking to uncover what Dr. Fauci and other officials knew when they knew it, and why the lab leak theory was so aggressively dismissed. The world is watching, demanding answers and accountability for one of the most consequential events of our time. The lab leak theory isn't just an American debate. In December 2024, Germany's intelligence service concluded a lab origin was highly probable, citing evidence that Chinese scientists had early, detailed knowledge of the virus. Other countries' findings add weight to the theory. Former CDC Director Robert Redfield has said he's convinced COVID-19 was a lab accident. International consensus makes the early dismissal of the lab leak theory look suspicious. The FBI wants to know if Fauci was aware of these global concerns and whether he communicated with foreign officials. The pandemic was global, so is the investigation. Fauci's phone and hard drives could be a digital goldmine. These devices may reveal private conversations, draft statements, and real-time reactions during the pandemic's chaos. Investigators want to reconstruct the timeline, who Fauci talked to, what he read, and how decisions were made. There could be messages with other officials, emails with scientists, or drafts of public statements. The raw data could explain why certain theories were suppressed, and why guidance changed. This isn't just about one man, it's about how institutions functioned in crisis. The public deserves the truth, whether it clears or implicates Fauci. Only transparency can rebuild trust. The seizure of Fauci's devices is a turning point, but the story isn't over. The investigation will take time. Experts must sift through massive amounts of data, recover what they can, and build a coherent narrative. There are still many unknowns. What's on the devices, how complete the records are, and what conclusions the FBI will reach. The process will face legal, political, and media challenges. The American people want answers. Whether you supported or criticized Fauci, everyone deserves a transparent investigation. The truth is essential for moving forward and learning from the pandemic. The demand for answers isn't going